everybody, I'm Jennifer Baker and welcome to 800 Furniture. Right behind me, I have a gorgeous antique oat dresser. And what I'd like to do is paint it in a custom color that I'm gonna mix up using Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. So join me in this video today as I teach you how to mix colors. So here are the colors that I'm going to be mixing today. I've got Shutter Gray, which is a really gorgeous French blue gray. And I wanna lighten it up with some grain sacks. So I have those. And then I have all sorts of different measuring tools that you can use when you need to measure out your milk paint. Use whatever you have handy, use whatever is the size container that you need. I also have different things to stir with. You can use a mini whisk. This is like a plastic, this is actually to use for decor transfers, but this is also a really great reusable stir stick, or you can just use a plain old popsicle stick. Whatever you like to use, it's totally up to you. You're also going to need a container to mix your milk paint in. So this is actually a shaving mug. This is an ironstone shaving mug, and that's what I like to use because these are reusable and I can just clean them out and use them again. And then I've got some regular water. This just happens to be bottled water, but you can use tap water. It doesn't matter. Do is actually figure out like how much paint we want to mix. I want 1/4 cup total of paint. So I'm going to go into my grain sack, and I'm gonna shake off a rough like 1/8 cup. It's half of this, which is 1/4 cup. So this is like roughly 1/8, but it's not exact, and that's okay. You don't have to be super exact. So in that goes, and then I'm going to do the same thing in my Shutter Gray. Just look at that color. Isn't that, oh, it's so delicious. I love it. So let me just make sure this is roughly half of this scoop. So in that goes. So I basically take all of the powders that I want to mix together, like all of the colors, and I put them in the cup, like they're in there together. Once all of my powders are in the cup, I use a popsicle stick and I do just like a dry mixing. What I'm trying to do is get all of the powders combined while they're dry. You kind of do this when you're baking. You know how you mix all your dry ingredients together and then you add your wet? It's kind of the same thing. And this just helps to make sure that we have consistent color in powder form. And then the next step is to go ahead and add some water. So there. I'm adding the same amount of water as I have powder in here. So this is roughly 1/4 cup total of powder. So now I'm going to add 1/4 cup total of water without spilling. Yay! Look at that. And now it's time to stir. So I'm going to grab that popsicle stick that I used before, and I'm going to give this guy a nice thorough stir. And we want to stir for a good solid couple of minutes because Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint is a very simple kind of paint. And the only thing that's going to bring all these ingredients together is right here, your hand, and mine has paint all over it because it's a painting kind of day. So the longer you stir and the more you agitate this paint and bring all of the ingredients together, the smoother of a mix you're going to have. Okay guys, so I'm going to talk to you while I'm mixing. So Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint is going to be a little lumpy in your cup. It is not going to be smooth like the paints that you're probably used to. If you've never used milk paint before, a true like powdered milk paint that you mix with water, such as Miss Mustard Seeds, it's probably gonna feel a little weird. When you take your stir stick out of the container, you're going to see some lumps. It's gonna have some grittiness to it, and that is 100% normal. You didn't do anything wrong. And the way that we like to describe Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint, for those who have never used it, is to think about peanut butter. So if you think about Jiff peanut butter is super creamy and consistent in its color all throughout the container. You just open the jar and you can dip your knife in, and it's super spreadable. There's no chunks, there's no lumps. And if you look at the ingredient list, there's a lot of ingredients listed there to make it that creamy and that smooth. That is a lot like modern style paints that are on the market today. Chalk type paints, clay based paints, acrylic based paints. They are all like Jiff peanut butter. They have a lot of ingredients in them and they're formulated to be spreadable and consistent in their color. Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint is completely different. Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint is much more like a natural peanut butter. So if you've ever opened a jar of natural peanut butter, you know how there's a layer of oil on the top and you have to stir it to get it creamy. There's bits of peanuts in there. It's a little chunky. You may have a little bit of shell remnants. It's not consistent in its texture and in its color. It just has a totally different feel. But if you look at the ingredients list, there's a lot less ingredients. There's probably only a handful, namely oil and crushed up peanuts, maybe some sugar, maybe not. So because there's a lot less ingredients, because it's a more simple formula, it's not going to have the same texture as something that has a lot more ingredients and is more processed, like Jiff peanut butter. So Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint has the consistency and the texture that it does because it's a very simple style of paint. It's like natural peanut butter. Now, both types of paint are not bad or good. One's not better, one's not worse. They're just different. So when you try to use Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint for the first time, just have that expectation in mind. It's going to be very, very different from modern paints. And if you go in expecting it to behave and look and feel like natural peanut butter, then you're well on your way to getting used to this entirely different style of paint. Now that I've mixed up my milk paint, I'm going to let it rest for about 5 or 10 minutes. And this is a really great time for you to go prep your piece, scuff sand it, clean it out, put a load of laundry in, check your email, whatever you need to do. But giving your milk paint a chance to thicken up and just rest for a minute will help that powder and the water come together. It'll make this a lot creamier, a lot smoother, and it will actually thicken up. My milk paint has been sitting for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to give it a stir and teach you how you know that you have the right consistency. When you take a stir stick and you put it in the paint and then you lift it up, it should run off the stir stick in a nice steady ribbon. Like it should come off the stir stick for a couple seconds before it starts to break. There should be body and creaminess. It's going to be much thinner than modern paint. So if you're expecting this to have the consistency of like a chalk type paint, it's not going to. And the ultimate test is to just paint it on. So let's go do that. Let's go check the consistency and the color. I've got the milk paint on my brush here, and I'm just gonna start to paint it on. The consistency is perfect, and the color is exactly what I was looking for. I wanted just a nice kind of pale version of Shutter Gray with just a little bit of lightness from that grain sack. And I'm gonna zoom in so you can really get a sense of what milk paint looks like when you first brush it on. It's got great coverage, but can you see some of those bits? That is 100% normal. When you go to smooth sand your piece, all of those will smooth out and this will not feel gritty. It will before you do that step, but until you do that step, it's gonna feel a little gritty. But like I said, all of those sand out completely. And this is great color and consistency. This is a perfect custom mix. Thanks for joining me. I hope that this little video helped you kind of understand the mixing process and understand sort of the characteristics of Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint a little bit better. For those of you who are probably wondering what brush I'm using, this is a Kling on F40. It's shaped like this, it's flat, it's perfect for getting into spaces like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to painting. And if you guys have questions, you just leave me a comment. I'm happy to help you, and happy milk painting. Bye.